Hello, everybody. This is the Tour Coach, and it is Masters Week. My favorite week of the year, as I'm sure it is yours. It's like a holiday. It's like a religious occasion. Unfortunately for me, I'm not coaching and teaching there this year, but if you're sitting down, you're listening to the Tour Coach, you know these are my conversations and my stories and roundtable discussions from my travels and Jackson Court's travels in the world of golf, whether they're teachers, they're players, coaches, fitness experts, whatever it is. It's the people that we meet, we talk to, trust, learn from, work with. All of it, we sit down and we talk and we share it with you to hopefully help give you some enjoyment, give you some inspiration, and also, more than anything, help your game. And so if you've been listening, you know the last several weeks we've been doing a Masters giveaway with our new content going out on Dew Sweeper TV on YouTube. Look, all you got to do is go to YouTube and type in hashtag Dew Sweepers TV, Dew Sweepers TV hashtag on our YouTube channel. Join the channel, like it, go to the description of our podcast here, wherever you get your podcast, and subscribe to it and type hashtag Dew Sweeper TV, and you register for a giveaway Monday morning after the Masters. We're going to give away a set of Shrixon irons of your choice. We're going to give away 12 dozen Shrixon balls and a dozen Shrixon gloves to one lucky winner. Great opportunity to get some great Dew Sweeper Shrixon gear. All you got to do is check out our content over on YouTube, and that's Dew Sweeper TV. Our follows are going through the roof. The views and the comments about our content have been overwhelming. So please check out Dew Sweeper TV over on YouTube, and an opportunity to win some great Shrixon gear. Monday after the Masters, going to give away a set of Shrixon irons, 12 dozen Shrixon balls, and a dozen Shrixon gloves for one lucky winner. We'll do that drawing and announce it, so make sure you check it out. Great Masters Week. We're going to have a lot of content coming to you here on the Tour Coach, and we're going to kick it off today. So make sure you listen, subscribe, and none of this could be remotely possible without our sponsors, and that, of course, is Shrixon Golf, Bushnell Golf, Vineyard Vines, Mitch McConnell and the folks at McConnell Automotive and Buick GMC, and you obviously can't forget Ed Rowan, Taylor Martino and Rowan, and Stokely's Midtown Garden Center. All of that support makes the Dew Sweepers radio show, the Tour Coach, and Dew Sweepers TV all possible. So stay tuned. Masters Week is upon us. You got a great chance to win. And don't forget, subscribe to this. Go to the description of the podcast. Like it and comment, hashtag Dew Sweepers TV. Go to YouTube, hashtag Dew Sweepers TV, or repost this on any of our social channels, hashtag Dew Sweepers TV, and you could win the Shrixon and Dew Sweepers gear. Enjoy Masters Week. It's first major of the season. I'm ready for it. Are you? All right. So sitting in here, it's Masters Week. Joining me here on the Tour Coach, the podcast, legendary instructor, one of the great teachers of the game. He's had an illustrious career, been around a lot of the great teachers and a lot of the great players. So he just informed me he's in his 80th year on this journey and voyage in the game of golf. One of the people I've been fortunate enough to spend a little bit of time and chat with over the years. He's also a golf radio legend out there in Houston and in that area, Mr. Charlie Epps. Charlie, what is going on, buddy?
Well, it's great to talk to you. It's great to be in the Masters Week. We all know what a great week that is for many different reasons. So, and it brings back so many memories.
That's why, I was thinking I hadn't talked to you in a while, and we taped one with Billy Harmon the other day. Billy's kicking off our Masters Week, and I just got thinking, of the 5.5 years that I hung out with Lucas, some of my favorites were sitting around and listening to the stories about him and Dick Harmon, who I know you were so close with, and I
Yes.
got, you know how golf and teaching is. Sometimes, like, you're just driving or you're sitting somewhere, and some of the things I miss most about teaching some of the people I've been fortunate to teach with are just the stories about the people they've been around, and those stories about you and Dick. And then Masters Week, and obviously all the coaching, the teaching, and the mentoring you did with Angel Cabrera, 2009 champion. I was like, you know what, I'm going to get Charlie on and let's talk some Masters. So I would love to pick your brain a little on Augusta National, the Masters, some of your experiences there, coaching a champion. This week has to bring back a flood of memories for you.
It sure does, and of course it's all about Cabrera, who did win the 2009 Masters, and he had a pretty good record leading up to that tournament in 2009. But we as instructors and coaches, we get to hang with a lot of different people, and it's not necessarily always golf. And I got to play in a pro-am with Tom Landry.
Oh, wow.
The ex-coach, the magnificent player and coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And I got up enough nerve and I said, Coach, I hope you don't mind me asking you this, but how come your players play so good and how for you and you win so much? And he says, Charlie, that's just very simple. I just convince all of my players that you're only going to play as good on Sunday as you practice on Wednesday. And so that word practice is such a big part of sport because we must fine tune our talents of our players. And so in 2007, Angel won the U.S. Open.
Oakmont.
Oakmont. And here's a poor kid from Argentina that learned how to play under the trees of his course because they wouldn't allow him to play as a poor caddy. So he would hide clubs in his in the trees, and as he walked home, he'd in the evening he'd pick out his 7-iron and he'd hit shots from underneath the trees. And because I always told him, I said, your best shots are underneath the trees. And he said, well, that's where I learned to play the game. So in this case, Angel had asked me to help him with his putter.
Okay.
He really wasn't putting as good as the other guys. And so we started in 2007. January, and I grew up in Argentina, so I know the course where he grew up. I was a member, and he was the caddy. I was 20 years older than he is, and so I knew of his talents. And so when he asked me to help him, I said, sure, come on. Well, going into defending the champion of it 2008 U.S. Open, he wasn't playing very good. He wasn't, not many people really defend their championship. And sure enough, the first day he shot 77. And, you and I were always trying to decide how we're going to approach our students, what we're going to say to them. So after him doing that, his round of golf, which was poor, of course, we were having lunch, and I looked at Angel and I said, Angel, you're so good at this game. You got to allow me to teach you how to practice putting. Okay, it's not a matter of your stroke. It's just practicing what you do good. So we embarked in 2008 to practice at least an hour every day that we were together on putting. And he was very, very encouraged. And, he was a good listener. And so we started having some good drills and good, what we do as instructors. We get teaching aids to try to help, the path and the face. And so we just really spent probably about 40 great hours leading up to the 2009 on putting.
Wow.
And Roberto de Vicenzo was asked by another reporter, said, well, how do you think Charlie helped Angel? And Roberto said, for some reason he made every putt he should have made on Sunday to win the Masters.
Quite a
and that was a result of practice and fun practice, and also using some teaching aids. I used little orange thing. It's called inside down the line, because he was a good putter from right to left, but his left to right putting had really a lot to be desired, because his path, as you know, in left to right putts, we usually putt the ball at the hole and not at where the ball is going to break. And so I really influenced him on that, and lo and behold, it worked. Practice.
How did you? I'm always fascinated by how coaches and players that have won majors, like how you approached practicing and preparing. And interesting to me is you talked about the number of hours, and this started well before Masters Week, right? Like, it isn't like you guys a week, 10 days out, you started grinding and trying to get ready. So this was obviously something he knew he needed to work on. You obviously had a plan for it, but you instituted it well ahead of time. And I think that's something that folks don't always understand, that teachers and the players that compete at this level generally go into something with a pretty dang good plan, and the payoff is obviously Sunday at Augusta, but you guys started that well ahead.
Yes, sure. I always had even with my own game, and my hobby was playing professional golf, and I always had a philosophy. What I practice today will show up 365 days from now. Mm-hmm. I've got to practice it that long for it to instill it into my swing, into my golf game. And same with my students. I encourage them to practice and not just hit drivers off the tees, and that kind of stuff. Putt. You got to putt, and you not only got to putt on the practice screen, but in the evening you can go out on the golf course and use the greens to teach you how to putt correctly, and you can get the right left to right breaks and so on and so forth. So the more time you spend in practice, the better you're going to get.
Take us through Masters Week with a major winner, and you're there. He's the U.S. Open champion. He played so good there at Oakmont, and then it's always interesting. Guys that have won majors, I think, then the expectations are obviously, especially when they're his age and they're one of the best players in the world, top 10 player in the world. How do you, when you get there on Monday, how do you approach the week? Or you get there Sunday, the Sunday night before Masters Week. How do you approach that week? And as a coach, how do you help keep them from not getting either too far ahead of themselves and all those types of things?
Well, I mentally had a plan. I'd played enough tournament golf, and I know you don't want to get to the golf course and try something new. So in February, I ran onto this inside down the line path teaching. It's a teaching aid, and so I started making him change his path without him knowing it, and we got to where he could make 100 putts in a row because he wanted to, because he knew bad putters don't like to practice, but if you can show them a way how to make putts, they get excited about the game. And so with this teaching aid, I developed where he could make putt after putt after putt, and it's just kind of like shooting free throws. You got a good routine. You got your practice area that you set up where you want your student to practice, and with some lines and some things that I'm a visual person, and I like to show him where the break point is, to what side of the hole you want the ball to go in, what side you're going to be short if you're cutting the ball. So it's a matter of drills and fun and a challenge. And so Angel got onto this real quick, and we improved his putting. He went from 31 putts around to 28 putts.
Three putts around's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of putts and a lot of money at the end of the week.
Yeah, exactly right. So when we got to at the Masters, we had certain areas we could practice. The range is so good over there, but they have good putting greens. And back when I started teaching and I spent time on the tour, not many people were doing that. They didn't have many practice aids on the putting green. They'd get up there and make maybe a chalk line or something like that. And I kind of went more and above, and I had this aid that I really liked, and he liked, and so I've got a picture of us. We were the last group off of the putting green on Sunday that he won the Masters in 2009, and we went through our routine and set him off to win the Masters with a good practice.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the common things that I've seen. I've obviously never had a player win the major, but I remember, was coaching Smiley Kaufman the year he played in the last group, his first Masters, and, he made it to the final group on Sunday, which I think as a rookie's a hell of an accomplishment, right? And
oh my God, yes.
And I just remember, I always think about it this time of year in particular, and I had dinner with him not long ago, and he was so good at sticking to his game plan all week, and even though he played poorly on Sunday, I told him this the other night, like, I was still proud of him because even though things didn't go well and he really didn't hit it that bad Sunday, he just didn't putt very well at all, and it got away from him. But, like, he stuck with that game plan, and I think that's I think that's pretty important for people out there as you watch what goes on this week, that the best players to me seem to go in with a really good plan and a good routine, and, they don't vary from it. Like, like you don't see many guys. I'd love your thoughts on this. And, like, I remember Saturday or Friday or Saturday after the round, Jordan grinding on the range, was there late. Like, you just don't see a ton of guys to me getting out of their routine where, like, after the round during a major that they go spend a ton of time. I know Bryson's done it a little, but, like, to me, most guys that are really successful tend to stay in their routine all through the week.
Yes, we definitely did that, and Tom Landry said, you got to organize your practice, and the players have to understand that this is it, 35 minutes doing this, 25 minutes doing that, and just get it to be a routine, and don't shortcut it, and don't say, okay, well, we'll get it tomorrow. No, you stay with your routine. And one of the things that I was able to accomplish the week of the Masters is the Tuesday of the Masters. He had a home right there about 5 miles from the golf course. And on Tuesday, we were getting ready to have a little barbecue and all that. And I'm watching all these guys show up, and I'm saying, hey, what's going on here? Well, at about 9 o'clock, we had about 60 guys. And, everybody's having a good time. And I'm saying, I'm looking at this, and I said, I don't like this at all. And because what happens is at a major, everybody, comes from Argentina to watch Cabrera, play in a major. But what they do is they Tuesday night's a party for them.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to have a party. So I got up at 9:15, and I cleaned my glass, and I'm fluent in Spanish, and everybody started looking at me, and I said, guys, we got until 10 o'clock, and then the bars close, and we'll see you tomorrow. Well, I almost had a riot on my hand. I mean, they were settling in, drinking some wine and having a good time. And
they love their wine down there, don't they?
Oh yeah. And so they all, when I announced this, they all look at Cabrera, said, hey, what's the deal? What's this American doing? who's he to do this? Although most of them knew who I was, and I grew up there. So Uncle stood up and says, "Hey, he's the boss."
Pretty good.
Now when your player can say that, you know you got him.
Right.
You know, and
he trusts you.
Yes, exactly right. And so that was the end of that party, and so it was a show of confidence in me, and I knew we had a great relationship going. I knew who he was. I knew I respected him. I tried to really show him all the courtesies and all, professionalism that I knew how to do, and he respected that. And he respected me as his coach and as a friend.
That's awesome. I think that relationship between a player and a coach, especially when you have the success that you have, is so cool.
Yeah.
And I maybe it's because it's what we do, but like I also think that makes the journey that you and I do and the player. I think that makes it more fun. I mean,
yes.
Where you really know them as people and you care about them. I don't know. People don't see that when we're just standing out there on the range, but that's a huge part of what we do.
Yeah, I'm just disciplined. Gary Player always told me, and I worked for him early in my career, and he says, "Charlie, one problem that you have no discipline." You've got to have discipline to do things, and so that taught me a lesson early on too. But that week was a marvelous week, and we had more weeks after that, and it was fun.
What did you guys do on the Wednesday? Because you got the par 3. I think Masters Wednesday's different than most majors Wednesdays because it's obviously lots of family, and you've got the par 3 tournament and so forth. What was your strategy for Wednesday? I've heard little bits of things other teachers tell players.
We had, he had an important business a friend that had his son there, and so his son was going to caddy in the par 3. So we didn't play the golf course. We got to the course at about 9:30, had a relaxing, Wednesday morning. And then we got to the golf course. We did our putting routine. And then we went over and warmed up for the par 3. And we got organized, went over to the par 3, played the par 3. And then when we got done, we went right to Kroger's and bought some more food so we could cook dinner that night.
What'd you cook that night? Do you remember?
Well, he likes noodles. He likes pasta. He likes to make his own sauce.
Uh-huh.
We had the heavy meal Tuesday night, but he had some noodles and probably marinara sauce, and then he had a meat sauce and a light glass of wine.
Perfect. So you go into Thursday. Do you remember what all do you remember about Thursday in the first round?
Well, Thursday we're just going through our routine as far as I get up early in the morning and go to Starbucks. He likes the lemon cake, and I get a Starbucks and a lemon cake, for breakfast. And then we drive to the golf course 2 hours ahead of schedule. To make sure that, the traffic, we don't have any disaster there. And we go into where the caddies are, the headquarters, and you can eat there, and it's right there on the range. And we go through the routine of going through the bag and chipping, pitching, and putting, and leave yourself about 45 minutes before you get to the first tee and walk underneath the tree and do some putting. And at this time, I like to let him go out and putt by himself, and no drills or anything like that. All the drills we do is after the round if we feel like doing that. But the Thursday was, just like any other tournament round. couple hours before practice and get ready, loosen up, and go to the first tee and put it in the ground.
Did you get off to a good start?
Yeah. He played solid. He was hitting the ball extremely solid, and yeah, he's really good at controlling his distance. And when he's playing, at his level, the tough pin placements, there's really not one that he won't shoot at, and he's not afraid of anything. And he'll play smart, but he's not afraid of hitting, like hitting at the rough pin on number 4 or the pin on number 6.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, no, he played with good tempo. I believe he shot 68 first round, 68 the second round, and we're tied for the lead after 36 holes.
When you're going into the weekend, did you, what was your approach going into the weekend? You're tied for the lead. You obviously got a racehorse. He was aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we had planned, I said, Uncle, after you won the U.S. Open, now you got to win another major. And that was our goal. And our goal going into that week was he missed the cut in Houston. But he put his arm around me. He said, okay, let's go win a major. So we got to, we got to Augusta Sunday night on a late, flight over from Houston, and we went to McDonald's because we were hungry about 12 o'clock at night. And it's just the two of us. And he said, our goal is to win the major. He was there to win. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't, the other story on Saturday night when we're right there in the hunt and we're in the last group, and we get talking. I love to talk to him about his childhood and what I knew a lot of it, but he was a poor kid that his parents gave him away to his grandmother, and so he grew up really an unwanted kid, and he didn't have any money, and so he started caddying and shagging balls when he was 8 years old, and the only way you could get a warm cup of coffee is to go to the golf course every morning. So then I said to Uncle, now when you were really hungry, what would you do? He said, we'd go steal some chickens. I said, you what? He said, yeah, we'd go steal some chickens. There was a Chinaman that had chickens in his backyard and eggs and all that kind of stuff. And I said, now, Uncle, you're 10 years old, you're 12 years old, and you're in a guy's chicken coop at 12 o'clock at night. Weren't you afraid? I mean, there's snakes in there, there's spiders, there's, dogs. He said, well, one night we even stole the dog. But he said, Charlie, you know what? He says, when you're hungry, you're not afraid of anything. And wow. I said, well, then you're not afraid tomorrow? No, he said, I'm going to be nervous, but I'm not afraid. I mean, he is never afraid of Tiger Woods. In the U.S. Open, he woke up on Sunday morning. The only thing he wanted to do was beat Tiger. He said, if I beat Tiger, I win the U.S. Open. And Tiger finished second to Uncle that year. So, it was such a great week because everything kind of fell in place. It started I've known him since 1987, but I'd played with him and this relationship really blossomed once because he called, he had his manager call me and ask me to help him.
Right.
And it worked.
That's awesome. Talk a little bit about Sunday. Obviously, he wins in the playoff against Chad. Yeah. It was a great playoff. Talk a little bit about what were your emotions going through that, and just kind of take us through it a little bit.
Well, Sunday morning here again, I went to Starbucks and got him piece of lemon cake, and everything's, it's a long morning on, last tea time, on Sunday, 2:30. And so, he gets up a little late, but he's still kind of cool and walking around the house. And, we have a little, toast and coffee, and a couple of his friends stop by and wish us luck. And so I didn't feel any tension. We get in the car and drive to the Masters, almost 3 hours early. We just didn't want to have any traffic problems or anything like that. And so we get to the golf course and go through our same routine. He goes to the locker room, and then we come down and we go out to the range and relaxing, a little chipping, pitching, putting, and then he goes back and has a little lunch, and then he comes back to warm up for the round, if you will, and it just goes through his bag, and I'd like to, at times, I like to get him swinging in slow motion. Mm-hmm. He said, "Why do you want to do that?" I said, "Well, yeah, I just want you to feel the club." I just like this as an exercise. And so he could swing. He liked that. That was one of the exercises we did to get him in tempo, timing, and rhythm, because the most nervous he is on the first tee at Augusta. And so one way to calm him down and get him to feel, effortless power instead of powerless effort, Bob Toski's saying, and nothing new, nothing there. And once we, like you said, I said we were the last guy to leave the putting green. And, I stole a little out of Mickelson's practice routine. He'll practice 3 hours before a round on the putting green, and then he'll go through his whole routine. Mm-hmm. So I got Uncle he started doing that a lot for me, putting before practicing, you might say. Yeah. And that was just, half hour, 45 minutes. That was always a good practice. And, not too much conversation. If he wants me to talk, he'd ask a question. If not, I just keep my mouth shut. Yep. And act like I'm cool, calm, and collected. But that day, Butch came up to me when we were the last ones on the range, on the putting green, and he said, "Charlie," he said, "you know what?" He said, "If my guys don't win, I want your guy to win."
How cool is that?
And that was really cool, mm-hmm. Butch, and that was really the first time I thought, this is possible.
Right.
And that was quite a moment.
Charlie, this has been awesome. It's so fun, fun hearing those stories, and such an awesome job you did with him, not just at the Masters, but all the way around. But really cool stories. I know this week will, obviously, anytime you've had that experience, I'm sure you sit around and think about it a lot. But I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me, and also just all the times I've been fortunate enough to sit down and chat with you. I always learn something and always enjoy our little bit of time to chat together.
Well, I hope to run into you one of these days, and I always enjoy, what you do, and you're so dedicated, and that's the only problem about our friendships is we live so far. Mm-hmm. We don't get to spend enough time with our peers, but one day it'll happen. So
I need to make a trip out to Houston, just come and hang out a little bit.
Come on.
We'll do it. Charlie, thanks so much, buddy. Enjoy Masters Week. I appreciate everything.
And likewise to you.
Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero. And look, recently, several teachers I know and several players have had some scares with skin cancer. In fact, I recently went and saw a dermatologist here in town, and I had a couple things frozen off, eyelid, my face, my earlobe, and not getting any younger. And I know it's getting to that time of the season where it's cooler, but look, being in the sun is a real deal, and I've not been very good, to be totally honest, my whole career at using it at all because I didn't like how greasy it was, how hard it was to get off your hands, how it clogged up my pores. And then I found this sunscreen, Visor Skincare. It's clear, it goes on, it doesn't dry you out, it isn't greasy, it's like you didn't put anything on it. By far, it's the best sunscreen I've ever used. Without a doubt, is the easiest to use. And we've got a discount code for all of you. All you have to do is go to visorskincare.com, is use our code word DewSweeper. Visorskincare.com, code word DewSweeper. I just want to remind everybody something that I forgot. Recently, a couple weeks ago, my wife and I went out. We went to a wedding, and afterwards with some friends, we were like, hey, where's a great place to go? I'll be honest, like, in my travels and day-to-day, sometimes I get caught up and I forget some of the great places right around the corner. But I got to remind you about the Icebox Bar on 755 Monroe Street. I was blown away by just the whole vibe, the atmosphere, and with the Velvet Pig, the food in the back room, and the big screen TVs up front. We sat there and watched some playoff games. I was blown away by the atmosphere, the vibe, and just how cool it was to have the Icebox Bar right here near the Dew Sweepers downtown, near where I live. You're looking for a great place to go sit, watch some games, hang out, play some pool, you got to go to the Icebox Bar right there on Monroe Street. There's a good chance you'll see all of us hanging out. But do yourself a favor, go visit the Icebox. It's one of the best places out there.